equally important. What you're looking at here is the first and second floor of the fire station. The blue is what the proposed renovation will entail. The blue will, in the front of the building on the first floor will be for second floor. Second floor is up top, I'm sorry. Upstairs blue is courts. The yellow is ancillary space. The red is village hall space. The orange is police occupied space. The same color coding applies for the first floor. Heavily police on the first floor, courts with a small office right off that side entry, and then the circulation, the restrooms, the mechanical space, everything else that is ancillary to the building. This is the program that has been designed through H2M and the village people, the village employees, and the police department. Yeah, go ahead. You want to talk, Dennis? I got to get a break. You don't? Go ahead, break.
Hey, can I ask you just a quick question? I know it's not a question, it's time here. But what's between the police station, I haven't seen it, and the fire station? Is that just going to be a void? You know what I'm talking about? Like if you look at the top
There's a paint store between the two.
not on the top left corner of the projected fire station.
Sorry.
Go to the board right there. The top left corner of the projected fire station.
Here?
Yeah. What's between that and the police station?
So the fire station is here.
Yeah.
This is the paint store, the parking lot behind the paint store, and then the village hall is this line here.
And isn't there going to be a gap between the two of them?
Yeah, there's a gap between fire and the paint store now,
Yeah.
which will remain. There's a similar gap between paint and the new fire station.
But I'm saying behind because the paint store doesn't go all the way back.
Right, this is his open parking lot back here. That's his property.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was your paint
That's
store.
okay.
So behind who owns the garage right there?
He does, the paint store.
Okay.
Yeah, so between the paint store,
I didn't know he owned all that.
yeah, between the store on the front street and that garage in the back, that's all his parking back there.
10 foot, whatever.
That's right. And he has access to it right here, between that garage and the new building, okay? This is a rendering of what the revised or renovated village hall would look like. Obviously, you can see where the overhead doors are now would be filled in, and new main entry would be created. I think it'd be a great addition to your main street. Go ahead. That's all I know about architecture. Police and municipal budget, same, hasn't changed. $5 million. This piece of the project, to be quite honest with you, is harder to budget than the fire station piece. New construction is always easier because there are fewer unknowns. And you can see we literally have a lump sum value of $3.7 million for construction. So if the project is approved, the first task for H2M and their team of structural engineers and mechanical people will be to get into the building and do complete structural analysis to make sure that the design that we are proposing fits within the structure as it exists today. Did I say that right? Yep. And then we will build out the program from there. Go ahead. How will it affect my taxes? So, total project budget now is $13.8 million. Bond term, because we are doing a new construction blended with a renovation, is going to fall per bond council 2 years ago, 24 to 26 year period. If you live in a village property and the village property is assessed at $100,000, your tax increase per year for that 24 to 26 year period will be $193. That's $193 more than you're paying today for your village taxes for 24 to 26 years. It is based on a home assessed at $100,000. If your home is assessed at $200,000, you will be paying just under $400 a year. If your house is assessed at $50,000, you will be paying just about $100 a year. You can do the math. We utilize the $100,000 number because most people can do the math from that point. Either it's twice that, or half that, or 3/4 that, or 1.5 times that. That's why we use the $100,000. This is subject to bond council finalization, which we will have for the next meeting. It assumes a bond term of 24 to 26 years. It assumes a bond rate of 3%. Right now, bonds are just over 2. If we can get to the bond market before it goes up again, we will save money, and this will be even better than it is right now. I can tell you people like Charlton and Burnt Hills who borrowed money in 2019 and 2020, they paid 3.5%. And if you anybody's refinanced their house, you understand there's a big difference between owing $75,000 on your house at 5% or owing $75,000 on your house at 3%. So that is the tax implication as it stands today. We talked 2 years ago, and I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this. We talked 2 years about now versus later. And in 2020, the economy wasn't very good. A lot of people are saying we should wait for jobs to get better and for inflation to go down and all these other things. People always ask me, how much does it cost if we wait? So we put this information together. This was from 2 years ago. The cost of delay on a $10 million project. So if you have assume a $10 million project, back 2 years ago, bond rate was going up 0.5 point a year. It's back on that trend. It actually went down. People were buying bonds at 1.3, 1.4% 9 months ago. It has already ticked up twice. It's going to tick up again. But when I did this, bond rates were increasing at 0.5 point a year, and we're almost back to that level of increase. Everybody knows what the home mortgage rates have done in the last 30 days. 0.5 point increase over a 12-month delay. Labor. New York State, this is a public works project. There are prevailing wage rates that need to be followed. Those prevailing wage rates are already published for 2023 and 2024. We know what the labor rate is going to be. I'm here to tell you, you're going to pay an average of 3% across the board for all of the trades that would be working on this building. Materials, the wild card of the group, right? Materials do this. But, hang on a second, please.
It's not a question, it's a comment.
Okay.
So, the prevailing wage increase,
Yep.
you should be honest with people, it happens every year regardless.
It does.
And it is 3% each year.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
So
what
we're
that's
not saving anything, it's going to increase anyway. The prevailing wage comes out on July 1st, we will be paying that regardless of.
The point is, if I build this year or next year,
It doesn't matter, it's 3% every year.
it is,
It's the
so,
same every year.
excuse me?
It's the same every year.
It
And
is,
the contracts for a living.
I understand that. So you understand the difference between so you tell me, if you pay $30 an hour for a mason today, how much are you going to pay for that mason next year?
Contract work, you're contracted in. Whatever you sign the contract for, you're contracted in.
I understand that, so, I'll try, hang on, I'm going to train,
You're misleading people.
I'm not, hang
You
on.
are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
If you stop interrupting for a minute and let me finish.
You actually interrupt me, and I'm just letting you know that you're misleading people about what prevailing wage rates actually mean. It's not going to not.
Let me start again. Can we agree that prevailing wage rate is put up by New York State once a year?
Once a year, from July 1st.
Correct. And they put out the rates, and those rates are in effect from July 1st to June 30th of next year, correct?
Correct.
And if there's a multi-year project, they project the rates.
It's contracted in.
It's contracted in, that's right. So if hang on, let me get there.
Can't change.
Let me get there. Let me finish, please. If you bid the project today, what labor rate are you using? The labor rates for 2022, 2023, and 2020.
The labor rates are going to increase regardless. Whatever
Hang
you
on.
sign the contract for.
I'm going to try one more time.
The contract won't.
Hang
be
on.
signed.
The point, ma'am, is whether or not the contract is signed in 2022 or 2023. Can we all agree that the number will be
The
different?
contract is negotiated.
The contract can't be renegotiated, it's public work.
No, I'm saying that when you establish a contract, it's negotiated.
Well, I'm sorry, what's negotiated? No,
Right.
what's negotiated? Say again, I didn't hear you.
I don't know if you know this, but when you're trying to get people to back you, being a condescending prick is not the way to do it.
Okay,
So I'm just saying,
so first of all, we don't use language like that.
I do.
Okay, well, I think it's always important to remember the environment you're in. We are not in a pool hall. We are not in a golf course. We are not in a strip joint.
But I'm just,
So we don't use, I would appreciate it if you don't refer to me with that language.
oh,
Okay? So if you can understand, and you understand New York State municipal law, Wick's law, if you understand it, you understand that the contract is written and nothing is negotiated. It is public bid and nothing is negotiated. And what the question is, the labor rate will be based on when the contracts are issued. And if we wait a year to issue the contract,
labor rate is not based on the contract. It's-
I'm done. I tried really hard. If you take all of this,
Keep going.
killing me. I've never been called that before. Huh?
Just
What's that?
I said, I doubt that.
Just continue.
Just continue.
So we'll laugh all the way for 1.7 million. It's your money. That's what you have to decide. If you don't want to do it now, if you want to do it later, if you want to debate all day long, you can. That's the fact.
Next one.
Sure, why not? That's who's eligible to vote. Does anybody, do I have the electoral college here? Does anybody? Got it?
Yeah, you're killing.
Next. What's that?
You're killing.
Here's your chance. So we have an exit poll. If you would like to participate in it, these young ladies here will pass them out. There's pens if you need one. If you want to fold it and put it on top of the table, that'd be great. Go ahead. Next public forum, we'll try and do this again maybe on May 12th. And again, at June 2nd, the one on June 2nd will be at the Village Hall. And then the referendum is on June the 7th from noon to 9. If you have questions, that's where you send me an email. So who wants to shoot me first?
How many fire trucks does the village have?
Right now, the village has 2 engines, a ladder, 2 squads.
What do you mean by squads? Are those like the Ford, or what, SUVs?
Yeah, they're not Tahoes, they're crew cabs for BLS, ALS,
Yeah,
first responders.
the pickup truck and then.
They've got the 2 large pickup trucks
And
and
a Suburban.
a boat, right,
Yeah, suburban type thing.
correct.
But there's actually only, what, 4 actual fire trucks? I know there's tankers and ladder trucks and this and that, but how many actual fire trucks we got?
4 large pieces,
Okay.
4 large, 3 small,
And
and
the
hence the
site,
7 spots,
so how long are the garages gonna be?
80 feet.
And that's for code. You went through that at last meeting in terms of the distance you need in front of the cab, between the cabs, and behind, which today, they don't meet code, our fire trucks. And I thought he did a great job answering that question and understanding the length of that 80 feet. That's accounted for every step when you take the depth of code required.
The trucks are about 32 feet.
Okay.
The standard that she is referencing,
Standard or code?
standard by NFPA,
Okay.
just like sprinklers are a standard.
Well, that's a code.
It's created by a standard from NFPA, but anyway.
Call
So all they're saying is we should have 4 or 5 feet between each, technically 6. We're trying to make sure that we just literally have an aisleway between the truck and the door, between the trucks and the truck and the back wall.
I'm not arguing, I mean, you should be able to open the door to
Yeah,
get the truck.
absolutely. And we do wide enough doors so you can open the doors and walk through them.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't need to, have 10 feet in between. I mean,
Understood.
Yeah, there's a difference.
How
between
long's the
these.
firehouse now, the one they're using right now?
Which workable days are what?
Oh, probably 45 foot. Yeah. I don't, I'll be honest with you, it's hard to say because they're parked fender to fender. Right now, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I want to clarify, so I see four, I'll call them bays, four
Yeah.
bays there.
Yeah,
About how many do we have now?
of that space,
So do we need four?
yeah, so right now, it's a good question. So right now, in the terminology, everybody says it differently. Right now, we have 4 doors across the front, if you will. 3 of the bays are double deep. So let's just call them parking spots. We have 3 double deeps, so that's 6. And then we have 1 single deep, if you will. So we have 7 parking spots designed in this building right now, which will hold all of their apparatus, except for they have a scuba support trailer, it's a little 10-foot trailer and a little 14-foot trailer. And those are meant to go in these unheated garage space in the back. And to be honest with you, that's one of the things where we cut down the space on the building was on the apparatus bay floor, which is some of the most expensive space. And we came up with this idea of putting this unheated storage, because all this stuff, it sits outside now. If we can get it under cover, that's a step in the right direction, right? The other thing that's important about this, that is getting into the design a little bit, but this large black line you see between the firematic support and this small garage, closed garage area, there's a grade change between John Street and Mohawk right now. This space where in this unheated garage will be at a different elevation than the rest of the building. And this back wall will create my retaining wall so I can change that elevation.
So you kind of still didn't answer my question, I
Okay.
appreciate the explanation. I just want to clarify, so I'm not talking about the yellow space, I'm not talking about the
Yep.
garage space, I'm talking about the red space.
7 spots.
It's right, 7 spots, but we have significantly less. What I'm asking, if we have about half that now, what I'm wondering is if we can go from, we're trying to save space, save costs, save tax dollars for the future. We have significantly less. I'm not debating code or that. What I'm wondering is if we have roughly 4 bays, can we go down to 3 bays?
Yes.
Was that a yes, we could do that?
No, let me grab some information, okay? So when we were laying this out, see if it's on here, we have, because I graduated high school, we have a ladder truck, we have a light duty rescue, we have an SUV rescue, we have an ice rescue trailer, we have a boat, we have a utility trailer, we have engine 1 and we have engine 2.
Where's everything going now?
So they're outside.
They still can go outside, the boat, the trailer, the trucks.
I think an easy answer as far as what the existing space compared to the new space, the existing spaces could be thought of as 2 spots, where all of the things are crammed into 2 spots.
But all the auxiliary stuff can fit in one
They have to-
spot.
They have to walk sideways to get into the vehicles now, which is not something that's safe or compliant to today's codes. So essentially, they're parking 5, 6, 7 spots worth of things in places that there's not enough space. So to answer your question, existing spots that are right for the types of facilities and will allow for multiple choices when you go to bid new equipment, there's 2.
Also the boat, the trailer that he mentioned for the scuba, as well as any other additional, one actual squad truck are currently parked outside. And when you park emergency rescue vehicles outside, they deteriorate quicker. And they're also, it's not the same price as if you were buying a regular pickup truck. These require significant upfitting. So the idea is to take stuff that was parked outside to be able to bring them inside, whether it's an unheated area or a heated facility, so that they actually last longer and we get better life out of the rescue equipment.
And the cold water rescue stuff that they did have a water rescue this week, this past week. The cold water rescue stuff sitting outside, when they get into it, it's cold. So the ability to keep the firefighter or the rescuer warm is diminished right from the beginning because of what the facility is.
So we've tried to reduce the space. We believe the space that has been included in the program is appropriate for the equipment that you have. Yep,
in the police department.
yep.
Is that all having done immediately?
The police department portion of the project. No, it can't be, obviously, it would be a two-phase project. Finish the fire, get them out of there. The intent, though, is, right now, the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest motivator to proceed with this project is the bond rates. They're at historic lows. You're still at the city of Auburn borrowed money at 0.8% a year and a half ago. They really got to eat their cake, had the cake to eat it too. It's normally 3.5%. If you want to enjoy that 2% rate for the next 26 years, most people who understand the value of money are looking to invest in their communities because it's the most cost-effective time to do so. So it was the decision of the board to proceed with both projects to try and take advantage of that bond rate.
Sean, can I add?
Let me just try and get questions done
Well,
first.
this is responding to his question regarding the police station. So the 5 Department of Corrections violations that we currently have date back to 1989. Policing has changed dramatically since 1989, as well as with things coming out with the police reform and accountability. So to not have adequate facilities for detainees as well as juvenile detainees, it does put the village in a liability issue, as well as putting our officers at danger.
You're at that now.
Yeah, but we're not in violation, we're grandfathered in.
What you're saying, which
Well-
is a good chance this one's gonna happen.
Well, that's just the liability that we as village residents, that's just we as village residents need to
This
assume.
isn't gonna happen. This
Okay.
is not.
All right. Is there another question? Yes, sir.
Cheaper to go through the summer party, you know, what's the?
If we have the mezzanine for training right now, all of our firemen get trained at the Schenectady station, so why would we have a new training mezzanine?
He asked, so, I'm sorry, if I heard you right, you said right now they do all their training at Schenectady.
Yeah, you said it backwards.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But I want everybody here too, it's a great question. So they do their training at Schenectady right now. The question is, why would we want to be doing it in-house? Because for us to take our firefighters, career firefighters or volunteers, to take them out of the fire station and send them to Schenectady for training, we are now creating a difference because they're not in service anymore. They're still working, but they're not in service. So we can actually do training in-house while they're in service and not have to take people away from the village in order to respond to calls. That's why the indoor training is important, for not just so you don't have to travel, but it also puts you in a controlled environment where it's not raining, it's not snowing, it's not dark. So you can do training inside at night with volunteers, which is the goal, to increase volunteerism, right? You can do all of that when the people are available to do the training.
Yeah, but it's not big, I mean, we're using Schenectady now, we're fine using it. I mean, the police, when they do it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the police go somewhere to get training, right? They don't train in-house in Scotia. I mean, they train, there's probably online classes they have to take for different things, but
Yeah.
I would assume like you don't do your pistol training in the basement of Scotia. You
No, that'd be a
go to
good
a
idea.
range or you go somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. So the question is, and Dennis, do you want to speak to just for a minute? Can you give 3 minutes on in-house training and what is it capable of?
So, we've been doing this for about 20 years. If you're building the bays, trying to visualize this, you've got the bays, and you need a certain height. And behind that, this portion back here, all right, if the bays are this tall, that portion is only this tall. In other words, the bathroom, the PPE lockers, the SCBA, all right? I've got this entire roof space just sitting there anyway. Why? Because the roof is up here, all right? So for a very, very incremental cost, I can put a rail down there and a stair and create all sorts of training regimens, stair evolutions, bailout, smoke, blackout, on and on and on and on for just the tiniest cost. So why not? It's there anyway. Why just let it go?
Well, if you removed it, you could fulfill that with additional space such as bunkhouses.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because the moment you do that, it needs to be ADA accessible. And then therefore it needs stairways, 2 stairways for exiting, and an elevator. If I'm using it for training, Training does not have to be ADA accessible. There's a
And
big
there's not
difference.
already
You
an
can't
elevator
use it.
going upstairs, because there's an upstairs as is. Is there an elevator currently?
Yes, but
Okay, hang on, hang on, you
upstairs,
didn't-
the
you didn't
beds
answer.
are different heights.
Hang on, you're answering.
I get what you're, by him saying, don't, I understood exactly what he said when he said different heights.
You asked, did you ask if there's an elevator in the current building or one going in the new
He
building?
answered my question, they're different heights. You're talking would be like this, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, the elevator wouldn't work because you wouldn't be up to that level, you'd be half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And could you do that? Yeah, you could do
You could,
anything
but
for
it'd
a
be-
cost.
yeah.
We don't want to incur the cost, we're trying to hold the cost down, so,
Totally agree.
okay. Does that make sense? Did I answer your
Yeah,
question?
makes
Okay.
sense perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, he answered it perfectly, so I
That's
was
okay,
gonna
Bob.
stop.
No, it's okay.
So I have a question on the parking situation. We talked a few days ago, so you've got 57 spots currently. Is that counting what is currently in the municipal lot plus what is actual church property?
Yes,
Okay. And then we're gonna go down to 41 spots, but that's now gonna be exclusively church property at that point, I assume, right?
no, let me show, that's okay, that's hard. I know it's hard to see. So we have existing 57 spots, that includes everything that here's the church.
Yeah.
It's the church and what's over here in the municipal area now. The proposed, with the building here, we will have 41 spaces, which is all of this.
But that's church property here.
Church property stops right here.
Okay.
So these are on our property.
Got it. So will there be an easement or a lease or anything with the church for this existing?
There's a lease.
There's a lease in place.
There's an existing lease,
Yeah.
but will that, I assume that's being renegotiated because of the change of how it's being used? or-
It doesn't change how the church uses it, so no, it'd be the
Okay.
same.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.